Is there anything we haven't talked about from a business perspective today that you want to touch on?
Well, I would just say this. I think you have to have a good why, right? And my why is directly centered on Christ, right? I'm a Christian. I choose to follow God, and that's the lens that's my worldview. And so I think that's a really powerful one. I know when I first was younger and I was getting into, business and stuff like that, my why was different. I was chasing dollar bills, and it wasn't a long lasting endeavor, right? And it never led to success. I didn't have the grit that I have now. It was easy to quit. There's a lot of folks. This is a really easy number to wrap your head around, but most people who start businesses are going to fail it, right? And that's just a fact. So the difference is people's why. Andrew, as well as I do. The only way that you can fail in a business is if you quit. If you don't quit, you don't fail. Period. Right? You just got to keep going. You can't stop. You're eventually an open door is eventually going to come. So I just wanted to mention that, yeah, because again, then that's my personal one. I would love that to be everyone's, but we didn't touch on that, and that's really a guiding and a motivating factor for me in
Yeah.
everything that I do.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Builder's Bible. I'm joined by Henry Hernandez, who is a friend of mine from Rise Up Kings. He is the owner and founder of Safer Fire and Veteran Fire Protection. And this is a totally different type of business than we've had on the show so far, so I'm excited to pick his brain. Henry, tell us how you got into the fire business.
Hey, Andrew, thanks for having me on. Man, stumbled into the fire business. I'm originally a veteran. I was in the Marine Corps, not doing anything cool. I was an administrator, and I kind of used the leadership skills that I got from the military, and I just kind of applied it to the civilian sector. So I was sleeping on my brother's couch. I was unemployed. I was out. Nothing was going for me. A random opportunity arose to work at a call center in New York City, where I'm originally from. And literally, I took the call, I took the interview. God blessed me with the opportunity. I got it. Rest is history. I climbed up the corporate ladder and eventually started my own brand. Yeah,
That's
interesting.
awesome. So we were just talking before we hopped on. You talked about like there's the cool fire protection, and then
Yeah.
there's the not as cool fire protection. So you guys are in the latter. It sounds like, which is like sprinklers. And so talk to us about like what you guys are actually doing.
Yes. I'll say, when people say, hey, what do you do for work? I'll say, I work in fire. And they assume I have, a firefighter, kind of background. Not the case. So every single commercial building in the United States is mandated to have fire life safety. It could be a portable extinguisher, or it could be like a hotel, which has like everything: fire sprinklers, fire alarms, emergency lightings. Restaurants have kitchen suppression systems. So cool, a little bit of an angle here. There's no lack of clientele. Every brick and mortar needs fire and life safety. So if you're looking for an industry, it's a pretty hidden of a gem of one.
So who is normally your client? Is it the person building the buildings? Is it the tenant? Like who hires you?
Yeah, I think like every industry, we have like the new installation sector, we have the service sector. So I think it really would depend on where you would concentrate. Personally, I'm in the service side. So I do touch on tenant improvements, and I do touch on, doing some remodels. My bread and butter is inspecting buildings, is finding deficiencies and repairing those deficiencies. So clients for us is going to be the actual business owners, property managers, anyone who's in charge of maintenance.
What is normally the reason they're reaching out to you? Is it because they didn't pass code, or like why are they typically reaching out for you to inspect?
Yeah, they're never happy, right? They're reaching out because a fire inspector has just failed them and said, "Hey, you've either ignored this notice for a year, and I'm going to shut you down in a week, or this is the first time." And some people are a little bit more, reactive than others. But it's going to be because the fire department has rolled up on them, or it's going to be because they're looking for a permit because they're, in this case, a tenant improvement that they're trying to build, and they can't open without their fire being approved. It could also be just someone who's actually concerned about life safety, and fewer and further between. But we have those too.
Yeah. Okay. So this is so fascinating to me. This is I didn't even think about this world, but every building you walk into has sprinkler systems, fire extinguishers, like you mentioned. So okay. So what? Give us a sense of the size and the scope of the company. How many employees? Top line sales, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I have two firms, and we're in the eight figures. We do a lot of employee stuff, a lot of trucks, but I would say because one of our firms is national, and so I would consider that if I were to explain it is like more of a brokerage, right? And so we have a local footprint. However, because we're in a national space, we deal with affiliates and partnerships. In those cases, it would be kind of a 1099 the companies, right? And for the local sector, trucks, we service California, we service Texas throughout the entirety of the states. And so we're all over, well, geographically all over those states. Every other state, we're going to have that affiliate network.
So the affiliate network, you're just working with contractors and trying to what type of wholesale relationship do you have? Is it consulting? Is it product? Like, how are you helping them?
Yeah, so we have like contracts with them with terms, and so we call them like MVAs, master vendor agreements, and stuff like that. And so those really specifically outline exactly what the partnership looks like. But essentially, it's super simple. We're a larger company. We have the clientele. Ideally, they're a smaller company. They don't have the clientele. They don't have a sales funnel. So what we say to them is, hey, we're going to expect a discount. We're going to get it at a much lower rate than you would typically sell it. However, we're your salesman, and we're going to give you an extra a funnel of business, and it's going to be kind of guaranteed work for them. So that's kind of like everyone has to win in that case. We win in that we get cheaper service, and they win in that they get a sales funnel.
So you guys are kind of like an agency, almost. So I'm a financial advisor by trade, but that reminds me of like a life insurance or financial advisory agency. Like you have people rolling up under you and they're kind of assuming your network and protection and lead flow and things like that.
Yeah, it's a little bit behind the current. Every industry does it, right?
Yeah.
100%. And even the big names, the giants, like you said, insurance is like Progressive or all these big names. Everyone's going to do it. This is kind of behind the curtain. This is a little bit I guess insider if you're in the business. What's
Hmm.
really important though is because you have to actually manage. So having an affiliate network is one thing, but managing with KPIs and managing by the metrics and the numbers, that's really where the sweet sauce is about having an affiliate or a partnership. Because if we just were to accept everyone, we would be we wouldn't have a good reputation in the industry. What's really important is our performance metrics, and so that's really we're selective, is what I'm saying. We don't just allow anyone to be partnered with our company.
Yeah. And you have better systems and processes and which is the benefit, that's really cool. I just had no idea this whole industry existed. Okay. What's going well with your business and what's not going so well?
Oh, explosive growth. What's going well is also what's not going well, and I'll explain that. So we're having enormous growth. So here's the cool thing about fire. If you're looking to get into it, it's extremely lucrative industry, and it's always growing. And COVID proved that we're kind of like recession resistant or proof, right? And so that's all great. And because it's such a high pace and high performance and a lot of expectation industry, there's going to be a lot of growing pains that are involved with that. So it's not difficult to find a clientele. It's actually that's the easy part. The difficult part is managing and scaling. So our competitors are $1 billion companies. Not exaggeration. They're $1 billion companies. Fire I would describe as a very legacy rich industry, in
Hmm.
which where all of the competitors have been around for a long time. And so if you're trying to break into that space, it's really a branding. There's a branding aspect to it, but more than that, you're going against people with unlimited resources. So really what we're kind of having trouble with is that we're growing so much because everyone is legacy. It's almost like, hey, oh, a new face. I would love to give this person an opportunity. And
Hmm.
everyone's having that same sentiment. So we are growing at a rate that would just, it's astonishing how fast we're growing. So there's pains that come with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what? I mean, I'm really
Yeah.
curious. That's so interesting to me.
Yeah. So, you know, we're dealing with a call center. So we're dealing with hires. Our kind of strategy in this space is we use kind of management teams. So we're what you would call a whale hunter. Because when you're a national, you could strategize however you see fit. But us personally, I like to use easy math. And so if I really want to take over the continental United States, I could choose to go to individual businesses or franchisees, right? And it's going to be high volume, right? Or I can go whale hunting, and I can go to clients that have 2,000 plus locations. And so if I
Hmm.
close one deal, I'm closing 2,000 deals, or if I
Hmm.
close one deal, I'm closing 20,000 deals, right?
Hmm.
I'm going to give an example like a Walmart or something like that, right? So we choose to go whale hunting, and one deal can completely change the economy of Safer, right? So yeah, we're talking about hiring. We're at a fast pace, like extremely fast pace. We're talking about training and development for internal employees. We want to grow our future leaders. Well, we're
Yeah.
talking about creating a culture in where people want to stay and continue to take the ride with us.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's I could go on,
Yeah.
Andrew.
No, I mean
It's a lot.
that's great. It gives me a sense of, and that's so interesting. The the overwhelming, almost like the incumbent, right? Is these kind of legacy families that own these companies, and I would imagine that yeah, that is a breath of fresh air to have someone like you coming along, newer company, fresh face. And I kind of think of all the relationships in my life where I'm like, man, I kind of just have to put up with this company because they're the only option, right? And no one ever likes to be in that situation. So that's really cool that you have an opportunity there. Um, what let's talk about AI for a second. How do you feel like it's shaping your industry?
Yeah, like everyone else in this specific conversation, I'm learning. I'm not an expert on AI. I leverage it for recruitment at certain stages, as far as like writing out exactly like hyper focused ads and stuff like that. We use it a lot on the other side of the house with the other firm with quotations. So we basically upload our inspection reports, and it has all the deficiencies. And because AI knows everything from the internet, it's essentially a fire protection expert, vocabulary speaking. So we'll dump it in there, and it'll just spit out amazing quote verbiage, which we then use to then kind of put into our actual like expert quotes. So we don't have to write anything anymore. Beyond those two aspects, I'm still learning. I want to use it more. I know some people have scripts. I haven't gotten to that expertise level of like developing scripts and stuff. Yeah.
Love that. Um, what's so it sounds like one area you feel like you could be using would be scripts. What's another area you're like, man, I think there's an AI for that, or I think it could help me in my industry. I'm just not sure it's out there.
Yeah, I would just, I know this is like a loaded word, but just automation in general, right?
Yeah.
That's the, for me and and my learning, process of leading these companies, automation is like key. Like I can do something in 10 steps, or I can be efficient and do it in two, right? And,
Hmm.
and how do I eliminate those 8 other steps, right? How do I automate those steps where a human being doesn't need to be involved?
Yeah.
And that's through every single aspect that you can even imagine. It could be from entering a work order to picking up a call to
Hmm.
any avenue that you can imagine. Like get creative and think, okay, how can I do this more efficiently? And so I like to do that with everything. And so yeah, that's such a loaded question because the possibility. I'm thinking about every avenue of my business. Okay, like how about a technician? He has to check into the IVR system and say he's there. He has to upload photos of before and after. Yeah, and I'm thinking, okay, well, what do we? I can just map out exactly what we do A to Z, and I want to go to every single stop. Time consuming, and yet that's the possibility of AI. Still
Yep.
working on it, all of that.
Is there anything we haven't talked about from a business perspective today that you want to touch on?
Well, I would just say this. I think you have to have a good why, right?
Yep.
And my why is directly centered on Christ, right? I'm a Christian. I choose to follow God, and that's the lens that's my worldview. And so I think that's a really powerful one. I know when I first was younger and I was getting into, business and stuff like that, my why was different. I was chasing dollar bills, and it wasn't a long lasting endeavor, right? And it never led to success. I didn't have the grit that I have now. It was easy to quit. There's a lot of folks. This is a really easy, number to wrap your head around, but most people who start businesses are going to fail it, right? And that's just a fact. So the difference is people's why. Andrew, as well as I do. The only way that you can fail in a business is if you quit. If you don't quit, you don't fail. Period. Right? You just got to keep going. You can't stop. You're eventually an open door is eventually going to come. So I just wanted to mention that, yeah, because again, then that's my personal one. I'd love that to be everyone's, but we didn't touch on that, and that's really a guiding and a motivating factor for me in
Yeah.
everything that I do. Right?
Yeah.
Everything. Mm-hmm.
I love that. I think it was Billy Graham that said this, or maybe someone akin to him. But the next big movement of God is going to come in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
So the opportunity we have as Christian business owners.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, like you rub shoulders more with the people you work with than you do the people that you attend church with, right? Because you're with them 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, Monday
Mm-hmm.
through Friday. And so we have a unique opportunity as Christian business owners, not only to just put food on the table, but to show what Jesus looks like, right, to our staff. It was cool that at Rise Up Kings conference, they had a guy speak, and he is using his businesses to plant churches,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's such an opportunity. Like we have a culture, and a season like that. It's really cool to see. Like, I believe that there's a resurgence going on. Like we see a lot of things happening in the media. I wouldn't say it's like cool to be a Christian again, but there's like a movement of God happening. And so I love that. I love what you just said. Um, Along those lines, I'd like to ask you, what, we both know each other through Rise Up Kings. A couple ways that has really impacted your life and ministry and business?
Man, I could talk on this one for a long time, and I want to leave it open ended too. Like, as long as you're part of a body of, and specifically because we're men of men, um, and who's following Christ, I think that that's really the idea. The cool thing about Rise of Kings is that it's national, right? And so we have such a wide net of resources and opportunity, and it's as iron sharpen iron, men sharpen other men, and so that's been a massive game changer. I would say, with no exaggeration, that Rise of King has transformed my life because again, I was a business owner and I had success, worldly or secular success, that you could say, and yet I felt a longing for something more. I was searching, and I didn't know at the time I was searching for Christ, and God needed to fill me, and I got that through Rise Up Kings. I'm not one of these folks that my whole life I've been walking, the narrow path. Quite the opposite. I grew up in New York City. Enough said with that. It was a very, very, very secular kind of environment that I grew up in. So I didn't have like the moral compass that I have now through the opportunity of Rise of Kings. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and not just in business. I mean, I'm talking about my marriage. I'm talking about as a father and all the aspects, everything. Yeah, transformed.
That's awesome. Well, now that I know you grew up in New York City, I have to ask, what sports teams do you cheer for?
Ha. So I'm going to disappoint you, Andrew. No sports teams. No. I grew up as a punk rocker, skateboarder, anything that had to do with a large, community of people getting together. I thought that was uncool. So I was against the grain, you could say. So I skateboarded my entire childhood.
Well, you might appreciate this. I was actually, as a 40-year-old, 39-year-old man, I just attended Warped Tour down in DC.
Oh,
So,
nice. There you go.
so if you like punk rock, you'd know what that is.
I
But
do.
I was definitely one of the oldest people there, for sure.
I believe it.
Henry, if people want to learn more about who you are and what you do, where can they go?
Yeah, so I would say that they could absolutely, look up, saferfire.com or veteranfireprotection.com. I would love to sit here and link my socials. I am one of those, one of the 1% of people that I don't really do social media as much as I should. So I can't point you in a social media aspect. I would say that if you do want to get a hold of me, you can go to those business websites and email us, and I'll eventually get it.
I love that. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. Don't go anywhere because I want to keep talking, but thanks for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.